warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay. Alhamdulillah. Subhanaka maulana la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. So we resume the book reading on Nubdha to Sughra. So today we look at, previously we have covered the chapter 12, I believe, right? Chapter 12. It's quite a long chapter. Hasanah. So chapter 12 we covered fiqh al-isharat, al-bisharat, al-nadharat, al-nidharat, al-hasanat, and al-adalah wa sanad. So this is one of the five sciences of fiqh tahawulat, right? As we have mentioned before, there are five sciences. So one of them is this, right? About signs, glad tidings, warnings, immunities, right? The different kinds related to people, groups, related to eras, places. Okay, so what the Prophet ﷺ warned or give glad tidings regarding certain places or people or individuals and so on and so forth. So then we move on to chapter 13 or lesson 13, Fiqh al-Mustajaddat. So this is a summary of the fiqh of modern developments. It says modern developments in theoretical, applied sciences, new cultural, educational sciences, and the scientific miracles of the Quran. So basically, developments in human endeavor or knowledge, which is part of the human enterprise, human effort attained through the human effort. Basically, not revealed knowledge lah. It's not something that is knowledge that comes from revelation, but rather knowledge that comes from the scientific endeavor, which is a collective enterprise lah. Something that is um, a common effort or common, yeah, something that you build from previous civilizations. Like for example, we have the Greeks, the Indian civilization, the Greek civilization, right? The Muslim adapted. The Muslims criticized, they filtered, they took from the Greeks, the Indian civilization, and then passed to uh, the Westerners who further developed science in the time of like the Enlightenment. We have after that the scientific revolution in the West, Copernican revolution, Isaac Newton. We have uh, then the paradigm shift brought about by quantum revolution. So all these developments, right? Not just modern lah, right? Because all of these development from the ancient time, the classical time, the medieval time, modern time, modern, all this terminology is not is actually Western lah, right? Medieval, modern, classical, ancient. These are Western um, punya their way of um, naming particular epochs, particular eras. For us, for fiqh tahulat, we follow we have a particular way of naming our phases of time. Like we have the prophetic era, the Khulafa ar-Rashidun. Then we have the Mulkul Adud, and then we have right the Duwailat. Duwailat is the small states that that appeared after the Mongol invasion. And then we have the Ottoman return of the caliphate. And then we have the Huthaiyah, colonization, and so on and so forth. Until today, we are still uh, within the Huthaiyah. We have the Ahlas, we have the Duhaima, right? And then so on until today. So the developments in human endeavor, human sciences, theoretical referring to subjects like maybe mathematics, right? For example, philosophy, things that have not really any practical, uh, not, I mean, not to say that mathematics has no practical application, but you know, not all, mostly it's something theoretical. You have practical applications as well. Applied sciences, right? Maybe you can talk about engineering, all those medicine and so on and so forth. Cultural, educational sciences, regardless whether these are positive or negative, right? You have positive matters that come forth from these things, and you have also negative stuff. I think you know it depends on who uses them lah, what their purpose is. Like you learn about the atom, right? You know how to make an atom bomb, right? So it can produce a negative uh, effect, or you can use it in a negative way to serve evil and to serve, cause suffering instead of causing bringing benefit to men, causing harm to mankind. So these are ilmu alat lah. That's why it is termed as ulumul ala. So people use it in different way. So they, as Muslims, the guideline for us, of course, we are using it. We have to use it in a way that benefits. And intention only has to be to benefit mankind. And that our early scientists, Muslim scientists, they were motivated by practical applications, like to benefit Muslims in general, mankind in general, and Muslims in particular, right? For example, mostly the motivation in the early times was for ibadat, right? For determining calendar, determining dates or prayer times, all those kind of things lah. That's why they were very much into astronomy, right? And so this is ulumul ala, and it covers also languages, new and old theoretical applied sciences, cultural sciences, art, social sciences. So regardless whether they are used in a positive way or negative way, they have also include within it, Al-Habib Abu Bakar also includes knowledge of sorcery. Sihir also he put under this, right, as part of this category. So this fiqh is subsumed under the detailed study of Quranic verses and prophetic traditions that speak on invention and discoveries. So the Quran in itself, right, encourages us to pursue the study of the cosmos, right, to look at the signs of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. So Iqra bismi rabbikal ladzi khalaq, for example, that ayat, right, it forms the basis of this pursuit, right? You Iqra, not just the text on the books, but the signs, the ayat uh, that is on the horizon, right? So that is also something that we are commanded to read, right? The signs of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala in His creation. Bismi Rabbik. So it is read in the name of God. So it should not be divested, stripped of its spiritual significance, right? So, and that is the problem when we the secularization of sciences, right? The secularization of sciences has stripped it of all its spiritual significance. And so for us, we are to read the science in the name of the Lord. Bismi Rabbik, Allazi Khalaq, right? The one who created these signs. And so the study of the Quran form teaches us the basis of this, the approach of science, and as at the same time it also has verses that alludes or uh, give an isharah to certain technological matters or developments in the future, right? So I've mentioned before this, there's a book, right? Al-Mukhtara'at al-Asriyah, I think. So we'll see that again. I'll show that again. Maybe some examples from the book lah. So then the prophetic traditions also, there are many inventions that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. For example, وَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ لَا تَقُومُ السَّاعَةُ حَتَّى يُكَلِّمُ السِّبَاعُ الْإِنسَ يُكَلِّمُ الرَّجُلُ عَزَبَةَ صَوْتِهِ وَشِرَاكَ نَعْلِهِ وَيُخْبِرُهُ فَخِذُهُ بِمَا حَدَّثَ أَهْلُهُ بَعْدَهُ. So, by the one in whose hand is my soul, the hour shall not occur until the beast or the beast will speak to man, and a man will speak to his the whip, like a tail of a whip, and his the shiraku na'li, he has this on his foot, on his sandal or on his shoe will speak to him. So there is this smart shoe, they call it nowadays, right? You can somehow communicate some kind of technology that can inform the person about his his number of steps, his number of his heartbeat and whatnot lah, right? And then وَيُخْبِرُ فَخِذَهُ بِمَا حَدَّثَ أَهْلُهُ, and then his thigh will tell him what his family is doing. So it could be a isharah to the handphone, because the handphone is usually put on the thigh, right, in your pocket. And then I mean, in many ways nowadays also you have home cameras, right, where you can also look at your home uh, CCTV via your phone app and so on. So this is something that Rasulullah SAW has informed us about, and this is what is he's talking about here: prophetic traditions that speak on inventions and discoveries. So one of the things that Al-Habib Abu Bakr, he always emphasized when it comes to this chapter or this part here, is about the fact that these discoveries, these inventions, they are given to, even though they come at the hands of non-Muslims, at many times, right? It doesn't mean that the disbelief, you know, is the source, is the cause of them, is the cause of their advancement or their scientific progress. That is something that should be removed or from the minds of Muslims, because some Muslims do believe, they do think that they need to secularize, they need, in order to progress, and this was what happened. Like for example, you see Turkey, secularization of Turkey, right? Um, and when the Muslims in general in the early 1900s, right, especially in the 18th 19th century lah, 20th and 19th century, where they were trying their best to emulate, follow the West, and to the extent that even they follow the culture, right, the dress code, the mannerisms. So this was what happened. So basically, why this part is in Fiqh Tahawulat, because as you can see, it is part of the changing, the evolution of human knowledge, right? The development, evolution, the change in human knowledge. So it is the part of mutaghayyirat, right? And it is also mentioned in the Quran and the Sunnah, right? What are the things that will appear, right? Of course, we will not talk about, there are other issues related to this, like the philosophy behind modern science. That is another topic lah, actually, but we'll maybe touch a bit on it. Service sciences. right? Service sciences and their effects on mankind. Basically, sciences that serve mankind, the needs of mankind and their effects on mankind. So alternatively, it is called i'jazul ilmi. So when one of the things that happened in the reformation amongst the reformists, Muslim reformists, you have Ahmad Said Khan, I think, in India, and you have Muhammad Abdu, you have Rashid Reza, you have all these reformists, and some of them, they start to look into the Quran to find inspiration to motivate Muslims. Um, Basically, they look for scientific miracles lah. Right? Scientific miracles. They write large tafsir of Quran, right? In order to identify like and comment on scientific matters that the Quran discuss. So this is something that is not new. It has been there since as early as the 19th century lah. So, and of course, there are a lot of criticism behind this movement. There is and some of them end up, forcing certain verses to be interpreted in a particular way, right? So, although the certain wordings of the Quran, you know, it may not accommodate certain meanings, right? So it's forcing it on the Quran. Uh, so then there is a comparative law or conclusive between scientific developments and the revealed text of the Quran. Okay, it's the same thing here. It says that the ulum al-alat are supporting sciences. This is the footnote. So the door of optimism can be opened through this specific science. This can be achieved by taking what is considered to be beneficial from the theoretical and practical sciences, while ascribing them fully to the Creator, realizing that it is He who caused them to exist and gave us the ability to learn and benefit from them. If such sciences are discovered by atheists and disbelievers, they will act as a proof against them. As for the one who believes with certitude, he or she can benefit from such sciences. And so for the believer, of course, he is his iman, his belief in Allah Ta'ala, he reads it with the name of Allah. Right? So it increases in faith, right? When you study these sciences, for example, you study physics about the Big Bang theory. Um, in the verse of the Quran, right? Let me share yours. It is interesting that the verse actually, I hope you can see, أَوَلَمْ يَرَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. So it is God addresses the disbelievers. This is the verse that they always, quote when they talk about the Big Bang theory lah, being in the Quran. As this verse seems to allude to the Big Bang theory, right? The unity of the heavens and the earth, and it was then separated, right? So the interesting thing is that the address is directed towards the disbelievers, and rightly enough, those who made the discovery, right, were not Muslims. Right? It wasn't the Muslims who made this discovery. Right? So this is an interesting point lah that I think it's worth to mention, and Habib Abu Bakar raised this up, right? So this is also what what it comes into the genre of the miracles of the Quran. And I think I mentioned this one as well, right? In the previous level, we talk about there's this book, right? Al-Ikhtira'at Al-Asriyah lima akhbara bihi Sayyidul Bariyah. So this is a book written in the early 20th century. So Ahmad Siddiq Al-Ghumari. So he was discussing the various technological, basically in the Quran and the Hadith, there are a lot of references about technological discoveries, right? Amongst which are the modern transport, and one of it is these verses lah, Surah Yasin. وآيات لهم أن حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون. So the loaded ship that travels on the earth, on the in the sea, right, has an equivalent. Wala khalaqna lahum min mithlihi ma yarkabun. Yarkabun would refer to something on earth, on the ground. At that time, they did not have any transport mode or which can carry like the loaded ship as many cargo, as many passengers as the loaded ship. So at that time of revelation and many centuries after that, so this verse was not really clear what it actually meant. So when after the invention of the modern rail, what do you call it, the steam railway, right, the train, which could carry a lot of passengers at the same time, a lot of cargo, right? And thereafter, you have, you know, uh, it the design improve and so on and so forth, and you have all kinds of vehicles like buses, So this verse becomes very clear for us, right? It is something that you know we are living in this era where we see this mass transport vehicles, right? And also the speed, right? When we talk about just now, we talk about mass, right? Now we talk about speed. So there is allusion in the hadith about speed of transport. So what is it? What is it? For example, the narrations on Imam Mahdi, right? He will be People will search for him. They will go back and forth between Makkah and Medina to look for him, starting from the end of the Hajj period. This is at the there will be a particular year where there will be a big war, Malhama. There will be a lot of bloodshed in Mina, and then this will happen. They will start looking for Imam Mahdi, right? And then from the end of Hajj period, right, the end of Dhul Hijjah, all the way to Ashura, right? They will go back 3 times, back and forth, which you know in the span of 25 days. So in the past, it was 20 days to go to and fro. So if 3 times you go back Makkah Madinah, it's not enough to cover within 25 days, right? In the past, one time is already 20 days. It takes 20 days. So that means at that zaman, right, there will be a means of transport which allow people to travel back and forth very fast. So another narration says, لا تقوم الساعة حتى يتقارب الزمان وتزوي الأرض أي تطوي ويضم بعضها إلى بعض. So the hour shall not come until time becomes it will close up on each other. So time and space will become as though it is compressed, as though it is shortened, right? So this is another what we are witnessing today lah. Basically, time and space becomes contracted. Right? So this is also another quote from the book, right? Mass communications. So amongst the signs of the hour is abuthu ilma fi akhir zaman hatta ya'lamahu ar-rajul wa imra'ah ومرأة والعبد والحر والصغير والكبير فإذا فعلت ذلك بهم أخذتهم بحقي عليهم. So this is indication of God says that أن الله قال that knowledge will spread in akhir zaman, that a man will know, a woman will know, a servant will know, a free man will know, right? الصغير والكبير فإذا فعلت ذلك بهم أخذتهم بحقي. So everyone will become acquainted with knowledge, right? So beginning with the technology advancements in the early maybe 19th century, you have the telegraph, and then you have the radio, and then the television, and then the internet, and so on and so forth. Right, so yeah, these are some examples lah. There are more examples. For example, the discovery of petrol, the discovery of electricity, and so on. All of these are mentioned in this book. right? So those who want to read, as mentioned before, you can refer to this, right? So let's go back to the book. It says religion will never contradict science and or oppose taking from it. What it does oppose, however, is disbelief and atheism, which contradict the creed and sciences of sacred law, and sciences pertaining to the realm of the unseen, which disbelief and atheism recklessly interpret via a purely materialistic lens, while denying the omnipotence of the Creator, transcendent is He, and explaining them in a way for which Allah has not sent any authority. So, yeah, the issue between religion and science. Right? So these are just some books that I think you might be of interest. So every discovery or every scientific advancement or discovery is all part of this ummah, whether it's in the hands of the Muslim or hands of the non-Muslim, because this ummah has categorization that we call ummah ijabah, ummah da'wah. So ummah da'wah is general. Ummah da'wah is general. It covers both Muslims and non-Muslims. They are all part of the da'wah. The Prophet ﷺ called them to Islam. And then the ummah ijabah are those who answered the call, right, and believe in him. So whatever discoveries, whatever inventions and so on and so forth, they are all uh, part of this deen, in the sense that they are part of that tahawulat. So, but when it comes to science and religion, right, we need to be careful, in the sense that science is not neutral, in the sense that it has the cultural color, or it's been colored by the culture that it comes out from, or the background of the scientist himself will influence his way of interpreting a particular scientific data or discovery, right? Even in quantum mechanics, for example, you have up to 6 schools of interpretation regarding the results of discoveries of quantum physics, right? You have like 6 different schools. You have the Copenhagen interpretation, you have the Manuel's interpretation. So this interpretation, why are there different interpretations? Because of the background of the scientists, their belief systems, their worldview, right? So science itself is not entirely neutral, right? It's not also objective entirely, like what the atheists, like, they like to claim, right? So this book, like, what is this thing called science? Chalmers. This one you can read if you want to understand about this discussion lah. Like, what does it mean when we say science is not entirely objective, right? Because the scientists, they work from they don't work from ground, from zero to they already have a set of theories, right? From where they uh, work upon, and they come up with a new uh, interpretation or new so for example, right? For example, if one astronomer subscribe to a geocentric model, right? Another one subscribe to a heliocentric model of the universe. Geocentric means he believes the Earth is at the center of the solar system. Heliocentric means the sun is the center lah. So their beliefs, will influence how they interpret data, right? And then you have changes in theory. Theory changes over time, right? You have, like, for example, scientific theories. They are not static. They have paradigm shift. They evolve, right? So what was considered objective in one era may not be the case in the next era. Like, for example, Newtonian view of the what do you call it, the laws of motion and so on and so forth. Newtonian views on physics, right, was considered objective and true. But then came the quantum paradigm, quantum shift, quantum revolution. which entirely changes the view that the scientists have regarding uh, behavior of particles and so on at the quantum level. They don't obey Newton laws, right? So what was considered objective at one particular era totally becomes something that is, you know, falsified already, or cannot be applied anymore, right? At certain, of course, at certain levels lah, not at the daily level lah, right? Newtonian laws still apply, can be applied at the daily, human um, human size particles or large size, large scales. Okay, then we have this issue of Hellenization, Christianization, Islamization, secularization. So again, this is to demonstrate that science, it can be colored by the culture of the people who adopt it, who study it, who bring it back to their country or to their land. Like for example, the Greeks, when they took knowledge from the Egyptians, right, they color it with their own rationalistic view, right? They rationalize it, right? They use their system of thought, their mode of thought, right, on this knowledge they took from the Egyptians. And then you have like the Christians when they conquered Greek lands. They conquered the Roman Christians. When they conquered Greek lands, right, they adapted and assimilated the Greek sciences. They Christianized it. They try to absorb it into their Christian belief systems. Right? They adopted Greek terminology to use it on their uh, beliefs lah. For example, you have like logos about Nabi Isa. They claim him as the logos, the word of God. All this come from Greek terms and ideas. So then you have the Islamization of the Greek ideas, right? How the Muslim philosophers, they Islamize Greek understanding of the universe, right? Instead of adopting the view that the soul, the universe is eternal. Some Muslim scholars, they rejected that idea. They took what is in line with Islamic teachings, and they rejected what is contradictory to it. Okay, then we have secularization, which they adopted, for example, Ibn Sina ideas, but they secularized it. They throw away the metaphysics of Ibn Sina, the ideas about benda-benda gaib. They throw it away and they take what is, in line with their ideas. So they secularize him, his ideas. So they are more inclined to his ideas on medicine rather than his metaphysics, right? And then today, what we as Muslims, when we want to approach modern science, right, we have to understand, what it has gone through, right? What kind of interpretations have been from the people of this kind of worldview lah, how they interpret, what is their interpretation, what is actually the science, the facts, right? So you have to differentiate the facts and the interpretation of the facts, right, based on their understanding, based on their worldview. So yeah, and then we have ashrat, fiqhul ashrat. Okay, so I think today we just finish this chapter. Lesson 14. Summary of the fiqh of cosmic portents and blood-shedding conflicts. These terms are defined as the portents, ashrat, and changing phenomena in the lifespan of different nations. They are defined or detailed in the Quranic prophetic traditions in the following manner. So ashrat is the plural of sharat, which it means a portent or a mark. The definition of ashrat according to Fiqh awwula is cosmic phenomena directed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's commands according to what has been reported by the chosen ones in the prophetic traditions. These portents are divided into two categories: preemptive and inductive. So those which have the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam informed us that will happen in the future, right? That that breaks the law of nature, meaning it is not normal, it is not normative. For example, the sun rising from the west, appearance of the great smoke, not just any ordinary smoke, a fatal wind, the three eclipses, the three collapses of the land, the fire that gather people in the place of assembly, the disfigurement, the pelting of stones from the heavens, and the other forms of disasters. So these things are istibaqiyah, means the Prophet has informed us prior to their occurrence, they will occur in the future. And then there are istiqra'iyah, those of the past. By reading those texts of the Quran and Sunnah, you extract from them, this ashrat Allah has decreed to take place on past nations, which are also related to the promised signs of the Day of Judgment, which are yet to occur as revealed in the Quran, regarding the people of Ad. So they are related, they are connected. All of them are connected. Right? This is what it means lah. So, for example, those that happen to the people of Ad, and Nabi Hud was their prophet. A wind bearing grievous suffering also has been revealed regarding the people of Yunus. So these are all the examples. You can just read them on your own. And then we have Malahim. Okay, Malahim, major battles that have mass deaths, right? So it is not just referring to those between Muslims, but those between Muslim and non-Muslim. So those between Muslim, an example is a Malhama that occur, as I mentioned earlier, in Mina, right? Prior to or during the time of Al-Mahdi, right? During the Hajj season. So that is an example. And there is another one which is between Muslim and non-Muslim, will be the one that we talk about, the Furat. The Euphrates River will reveal a mountain of gold, which will result in a fierce battle. Right, people will fight for that treasure. Okay, so Wallahu A'lam. I think we'll suffice with this for today. I think it's quite a lot also. So, have any questions before we end?
You mentioned tadi tentang scientific miracles of the Quran. The Do you have an example of that, like how they try to interpret?
You mean an example of a miracle, or
I mean, like I think you were saying that they wrote books or tafsir in a way they.
if we look at this book, which one is it? Science and Islam. You can he discusses by Muzaffar Iqbal. He gives you examples of tafsir that have many volumes of tafsir lah, like written by a few scholars about this. And then there is this idea of this French, I think, convert Bucalism. I think that Bucalism, I don't know how to pronounce the name. It should be Bucalism. Maurice Bucaille. Maurice Bucaille. Yeah, Bucalism. He wrote about this also. So, I mean, it's not, and there are parts of it which, what we say takalluf lah. Takalluf tu macam you are trying to force the interpretation. I can't think of an example right now, but you can look it up. Bucalism. Have you heard of him? Maurice Bucaille.
No, never.
Yeah. So I'll share it when I find it. Right. So yeah, we because we don't want to become like, like there is this scientism thing that people tend to incline to, where they believe that science is the ultimate. Everything that go against science is false. Is so you must acknowledge the limitations of science. So this is important for us lah, Muslims especially. We must understand the epistemic framework of science, especially modern science. What are the methods of modern science? What do they rely on? And what is the Islamic epistemology? Right? That's why this book is Essentials of Islamic Epistemology, also highly recommended. Now it goes into Islamic approach of the truth, searching for knowledge and truth. What is the difference? Because the pursuit of science, what is ultimately the goal of science is to find the truth, right? To find knowledge and the truth, right? So what do we use as our sources of knowledge as Muslims? Are we limited just by the sense and the intellect, or we have other sources of knowledge, right? So the idea is basically the danger of going too much into these miracles of the Quran, scientific miracles, is that you tend to think that science is the ultimate yardstick lah. You have to measure up against scientific discoveries and facts, then for your beliefs to be valid, right? So that's not our approach, and our the Islamic way that is much wider, right? It's much wider in its approach. It's much more comprehensive, and it takes into consideration man as a human being. He has other faculties, not just sense and intellect. He also has that higher intellect, the spirit, the roh, which can gain knowledge through we can gain intuitive knowledge lah, through the intuition, which Imam Ghazali says ilmu mukashafah, which is the goal is ultimately to know Allah SWT, right? Because the signs in the horizon is just a sign, isn't it? It's supposed to show you something big, greater, which is Allah. The madlul, the one that is pointing towards Allah SWT. So that is also the purpose of inquiry. Scientific inquiry is to go to Allah SWT, to arrive at God. So you can say the Sufis or the people of Tasawwuf, they have arrived at that level of the truth lah, the knowledge, the intuition of existence, right? Which is, yeah, unfortunately modern science stop at a particular level only, right? Of course, yeah lah, you need for science, it has uses in practical, it has some practical uses lah, which we need also, right? Yeah, I will share about this. I think someone shared in the group, Bible, Quran and Science. Any other questions? No? Okay. Okay, these are, I think these books are available in PDF. Only the Essentials of Islamic Epistemology, I think Wardah should have, but I don't know whether they restock or not. You can check it out. It's very, very good. Yeah. Okay, wallahu alam bisawab. Subhanakallah wa bihamdika asyhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Syukran Ustaz.